How are you doing, Cali crowd? 3 months ago, I decided to switch it up and start training to a more calisthenics focused methodology. As discussed in the progression diaries on this channel, I've since learned how to L-sit, made significant progress with the muscle up, and started working on my handstand. But today, we're deviating away from the norm and discussing what 3 months of calisthenics training could look like and what things you could expect if you would start training as well. Okay, so I've seen a few transformation videos on YouTube before, and they usually go like this. X number of months ago, I used to look like this. Until I started training like insert fitness program here, or until I started eating like this diet or that diet, and now I can do 1,000 pull-ups in a row and I look like this. Those videos are great and I find them really motivating, I really do. But I wanted this video to be a little bit more comprehensive. So I've decided to break this transformation video down into 4 parts and cover aspects of calisthenics training that have changed my life with regards to training, mentality, mobility, and aesthetics. But before diving in, I really want to stress that this discussion is going to be highly anecdotal. That is to say that this is how 3 months of calisthenics training has affected me personally, which may be completely different to how this may affect somebody else. I'm a 5'10", 79 kilogram man in my 20s. For a 4'11", 65 kilogram woman in her 40s to watch this and expect identical results would just be silly. Where the value in conversations like this lies is in seeing how something has affected other people and relating it and applying it to your life, so then you can either learn from any mistakes that they've made or you can benefit from any tips that they've picked up along the way. With that out of the way, let's talk about the first, most obvious change that I've experienced in the last 3 months, which is the changes to my training methodology. Coming from a weightlifting background, my focus has always been around building absolute strength and hypertrophy, with little or no real regard for relative strength, because if I'm honest, I only really focused on that when I was thinking about aesthetics. My workouts were split around a push-pull legs training pattern, which I still use today, but my focus was very much around the more traditional compound lifts. So your barbell bench press, your squat, your deadlift, and various types of rows. To experience any sort of gain, whether that be strength gains, hypertrophy, power, you have to expose yourself to some sort of progressive overload. So when I felt proficient in a particular exercise, I'd simply just increase the weight. Today and for the last 3 months, that ideology has been put to one side with a different focus. The core focus now becomes relative strength. So how strong am I relative to my own weight? How strong am I at manipulating my body through space? And I measure that by attempting to learn different calisthenics techniques. Now when I progress in the exercise, rather than increase the weight, I make some changes to my body position or my hand placement or eliminate the need for a resistance band. This has been an amazing mindset shift for me, and without getting all starry-eyed, I really have fallen in love with fitness all over again. Now, is how I trained before a good way to train? Well, for me, I definitely saw so many benefits from training the way I used to, and for many, many years, it actually worked for me. In fact, the way I've been able to progress over the last 3 months will largely be down to how I trained previously. But for me, calisthenics has forced me to focus on elements of fitness that I had ignored because I wanted to get to a 3-digit bench press or deadlift 2 times my body weight. The goals are different, so I've had to train differently. The second noticeable change is in my mentality towards fitness. Now, I really don't want this video to turn into a diatribe on weightlifting. Weightlifting got me into fitness. Weightlifting is amazing, and weightlifting made me happy for so many years. But without a doubt, calisthenics have revolutionized how I train. Because you're using your body as resistance, you become far more aware on how your body works and how decisions you make outside the gym affect how you feel. I'll give you an example. In the past, for breakfast, before I trained, I'd like to eat porridge. That was a staple meal, that was my go-to meal. And I'd feel so energized when I came to the bench press and I'd push that barbell into the stratosphere. But when I started focusing on bodyweight training, I noticed that when I ate porridge, I'd feel heavy for hours. So when I stepped up to the pull-up bar, it would feel like I had a cement mixer in my stomach. Similar things would happen when I wouldn't get a good night's sleep or I drink alcohol that week. This is a realization that sounds stupidly obvious, but it's completely changed how I view my time in the gym relative to the other hours in the day. The other mindset shift was simply how much time I spend reading. When you're trying to learn more taxing movement patterns, especially ones that have less intuitive progressions, educating yourself on how the body moves and the joints and the muscles and systems responsible for those movements is so important. Could I have done that without switching to bodyweight training? Yeah, and many people do. I should have done that, to be honest, but the fact of the matter is that I didn't, and it took this change to get me focused. The third change that I've really noticed is in mobility. I've played football for years. I've lifted weights for years. Therefore, it's actually so disturbing how little of a focus I've ever placed on maintaining good mobility and flexibility. When I started this journey, I couldn't touch my toes, and I still can't cross my legs. So when I started learning how to L-sit and I couldn't lift my legs, I was genuinely humbled. To go from deadlifting twice my body weight to not being able to lift my legs off the ground showed just how little applicable strength I had. Training with my body weight and developing calisthenics techniques has forced me to look at things like mobility and compression and end of range strength as part of my main workout, not as just some afterthought I slip in 5 minutes before I leave the gym. And finally, we have the vanity metric, how calisthenics training has affected aesthetics. I don't really take progress photos, so using this photo of me from a holiday I took 5 months ago, probably the best reference point I have for what I looked like when I started training calisthenics. The first thing I've noticed is that I'm a lot slimmer, especially in the arms and midsection. It's also interesting now how I have slightly more ab definition now than I did previously, even though I did far more core specific exercises when I trained with weights. Where I've really noticed a change is in my back. These muscles seem to be a little bit more confident at showing themselves, and my lats poke out a lot more than they used to. On the legs front, they seem relatively the same, but if I'm honest, I haven't really changed how I train legs. Weighted deadlifts and squats are still a significant part of how I train legs. I just really never got the same impact when I started doing variants of bodyweight leg exercises. All of this being said, this is just 3 months training like this. And when talking about changes like this, it's always key to include the fact that other aspects of my life will be key drivers in how this turns out. So things like sleep, things like food, things like training consistency, all become a part of understanding whether this has been successful or not. So I'm going to keep tracking the changes that I notice from training with a calisthenics ideology, especially as I try to keep learning more taxing and challenging calisthenics techniques. So if you'd like to be part of the helpful and motivating community that we've got here at Cali to the Crowd, be sure to smash that subscribe button and ring the bell as well so that you never miss out on a Cali to the Crowd video. I'll be back soon with another video. Until then, peace.